Okay, so this is Duchess, and she is going to help us learn how to take off and put on a blanket. Okay, so most blankets, I say most because some are different, have 6 straps. Okay, they have 2 in the front, 2 over the belly, and then 2 that run between the legs, like so. Okay, so first thing you want to do, it really doesn't matter what order, but you're going to unclip. We're going to do the takeoff first because she already has a blanket on. So we're going to push this clip in and pull it out like that. Push this clip in, pull it out like that. Make sure it's not stuck between her legs at all. And then these clips on the side here are what everyone seems to get confused about. So it's actually pretty simple once you figure it out. What you're gonna do, let's see if I can do this with one hand, is you're going to turn the clip. Okay, so there you go. So you turn the clip like so, slide it through, and then it's done. Okay, so let's see if this one will do a little bit better for us. So you push it in, turn it, and then rock it out. Okay. Once again, make sure nothing's caught. Right. So this blanket here has an extra kind of feature. So it's not only does it have clips, but it also has buckles. So you can adjust it to the way you want it, and then each time you put it on and off, you don't have to mess with these. You can just do these, which are a lot simpler. So same thing, you just push it in, pop it out, like so, and then most of them have a Velcro strap. And then you can just pull the blanket off, okay? So when you're trying to figure out, like so, when you're trying to figure out what side of the blanket is the front and the back when you're putting it on, some blankets have what's called a wither pad. Okay, it's like a soft piece of fabric that sits right on their withers. So right there, at the base of their neck. And some have a tail cover. That's just a little square patch that goes over their tail. Okay, that's a clear indication of the front and the back. But some of them don't. So wherever this little triangle piece is, which gives them room for their legs to move, that's going to be towards the front. Also, the front part is curved so that it wraps around their neck, and the buckles will be quite a bit different on the front. Now, some blankets are put together differently. Some of them have a solid piece of fabric called a belly wrap instead of the straps that go underneath their belly. And then some of them don't have the back straps here that go between their legs. Some of them, it's just a string that goes underneath their tail. So each brand is slightly different, but this is probably the most confusing out of all of them. So we'll do this one. This is a pretty standard, basic blanket. This is by Rugged Ride. I really like this brand because it's a pretty good quality. I am not, sponsoring them at all. Or sponsored by them, but it is a pretty good quality blanket, and they're not very expensive. So when you have so many horses like we do, it's a pretty good brand for us. There are several brands out there, Weather Betta, Tough One, there's so many out there, but this is one of my favorites. Chicks Saddlery sells them, but a lot of questions I get is, how do you tell, since there's so many options, what blanket's gonna work for you? So obviously climate is a really big thing. If you're having them in a stall, if you're having them out in the pasture, it's going to determine what kind of blanket you need. So most of our horses just need mid-weight turnout, which is about a 250 on the fill of the blanket. So it's got a 250 gram fiber fill, I believe. Yeah. So this one here is a 200 fill, which that's still considered mid-weight. It's, since we have them outside, we have them in the trees, we want as high of a thickness or like a quality of canvas as we can possibly get. So that's called Dinar, I think that's how you pronounce it. I could be wrong. But it would be, this one is a 1200D, okay? And that has to do with the thickness of the fabric itself, not about keeping them warm, but like how durable it is, okay? So anything around the 600, that's pretty thin. That's what I have for the donkeys, because that's what was available. So I actually have the tag for their blanket, so I'm going to use that as kind of a good way to explain how to find what you're looking for. So if you have a really old horse that shivers real easily, let's go into the trash here, that shivers really easily, then you want something a little bit thicker. Maybe have like a sheet and then a mid-weight to heavyweight blanket. Like Maple, she does have a heavyweight and a mid-weight, depending on how cold it is. So you can actually layer blankets as long as you have the straps correctly and it's not a horse that is known to get tangled in things. But do check on your horses regularly because they can get their blankets caught on things. But if worse comes to worse, you can double blanket, put multiple blankets on. You want to make sure it's waterproof. If they're in a stable, waterproof isn't as important, and the thickness of the canvas itself, it doesn't have to be as sturdy as a turnout blanket, but you can put turnout blankets on while they're in their stall. So if you were getting one or the other, get a turnout blanket. Stable sheets are a little bit cheaper because they're not waterproof, but if you were gonna get one or the other, I would get something that is a turnout blanket. Okay, so this is the Tough One mini turnout blanket, which is what I have for the donkeys. So if you look at this, there's a ton of information on here that can be a little confusing. So the 600D right here, that is how thick the canvas is, okay? So 600 is pretty low, not the most durable, which I would like to have somewhere around 1,000, 1,200, 2,000 if you can find it, especially when you're outside, have a bunch of trees. But like I said, I got what I could get for the donkeys. And then let's see. So you want something that's breathable, okay? That's important too. And then this is the 250 grams of polyester fill. That's how thick it is, okay? So this would be a medium heavyweight blanket. So it's kind of like a mid fill. It's not a ton. They're not gonna overheat, okay? So yeah, so like it's on the heavier side, but yeah. So ripstop, that's important. It's waterproof. That's really important because it's a turnout. Turnout blankets mean they're waterproof. They can go outside. The double buckle front closure, that's really important. Keeps it all bundled in. This is essential to have a little place where their legs can move, and the wither pad is really, really important. You can get some really bad wither sores And it's just not good. Like, the worst thing is trying to go put a blanket on a horse that's got a really bad sore, and you either put a blanket on them, keep them warm, or you continue to open that sore. And that's a terrible decision to make. Obviously, you try to keep them warm, you'd put padding on there, try to cover the wound, whatever. It's happened before. And you have to decide, hey, am I going to keep my horse warm, or am I going to try to get this wound to heal? And it really depends on a case to case, person by person. You know, how bad is the sore, whatever. So Duchess doesn't have a very thick coat. I do like to put a blanket on her, especially when it's this cold out. It's into the 20s, so anything under freezing, I blanket her. Not because she's old or skinny or anything. I feel better. And then if it is cold and rainy, if it's cold and rainy, I'm gonna put a blanket on her. But blanketing or not to blanket, that is a huge debate in the horse world. Just do what you think is best for you. Okay, so I have it on her. Before you put a blanket on, especially for the first couple times, make sure they smell it, so they know it's not going to hurt them. Never put these in the washer, okay? The reason for that is because it will destroy their ability to stay waterproof. Okay, my sister did that to her blankets, and now she had to go buy new ones because they weren't waterproof anymore. So if they do need to be cleaned, put them. Hi, stop! I don't have any treats for you. Throw them on a fence and hose them off. You can get some detergent, some gentle detergent, and a little scrub brush, scrub off the bad parts, but they don't have to be the cleanest. Okay, they're blankets. So I like to buckle the front first. She is being kind of a stinker and trying to get the treats that were in my pocket. So yeah, I'm just gonna Velcro the front first. It's kind of hard to do with one hand. So you're gonna Velcro the front, okay, and then you're gonna take these clips. Always have them facing in. Okay, the worst thing they can do, so if they're facing out and they come up to a fence and reach their head over like all horses do, this can push in and actually get them clipped to the fence. Okay, never happened here, but I have had a friend who used to work at a stable, and one of their horses got clipped to the fence, and then you don't know how long they're going to be there. So you put it, I know this blanket specifically goes on the tightest one. Stop moving, Duchess. I think that's what we had it out before. Okay, there you go. So just gonna clip that on right there. Okay, so it's snug, but I can still fit my hand in here. Okay, so it's not gonna fall off of her. I know this is turning into a really long video, but it's important. So here we go. So you just clip that on there, wiggle it around, make sure nothing's twisted, tucked under or rubbing. Then we're gonna do the belly straps. So we're gonna reach under. The one in the front goes to the one in the back. Okay, so the strap is set crooked. Okay, it's set at an angle, and that'll indicate that you're supposed to have it angled. It's designed this way for a reason. Okay, so then to put it in, I'm gonna put it in sideways, put it through, and then turn it so that it locks. Okay, and then this back strap goes to the front, underneath her belly. Put it in. And I've had this blanket for maybe 3 years, and it's held up quite a bit. It's held up pretty good. Okay, so I should probably show you how to do this. So these straps you reach underneath, in between her legs, grab that strap and cross it underneath her tail. And then once again, making sure those clips are facing the horse, and it clips like that. Okay, so they should be loose where she can move around. Nothing should be pressed up against her skin, but not so loose where she can get a foot through there. And then you want to make sure you check your blankets daily. Okay, multiple times a day if you can, because you never know when things are going to move. Horse is going to roll, accidentally get caught on something. Just check them. And then another thing you want to do, especially if it's precipitating out, is you want to just feel underneath to make sure the horse itself is dry. You should not put a blanket on a wet horse, and take the blanket off if they are wet underneath. Okay, that's like wearing a wet jacket. It's not doing anybody any good. So yeah, checking your blankets, make sure they're working, making sure they're staying waterproof. Some blankets do come with accessories, you know, like hoods and face masks, and some of them even have leg protection that you can put on. But it's Texas, that's not really necessary here. We just blanket because first off, our horses aren't used to the cold. This is Texas. And then we do have a lot of older horses, and we want to keep them warm, giving them an extra layer. So just do what's best for you, best for your herd, your horses. And then try to find one that suits your needs with the fill and the thickness of fabric. But things I would always recommend having, no matter what your horse is doing, is a wither pad and this part right here so that they can move. The tail thing is also pretty good, because it does keep the blanket from pulling up. Same with these straps, it keeps the blanket from pulling up. And then this one doesn't have it, but there's also some that have like a string that goes from this side to this side, and it tucks underneath their tail and keeps the blanket from blowing. So if you're in a really windy area, keep that in mind. We do have one horse that has a hood because she's really old and gets cold so easily. Even when she was a little bit younger, she still got cold super easy. So we have a hood, and we have a super thick blanket on her. We have a heavyweight blanket on that horse, Maple. But yeah, that's how you put on a blanket and take off a blanket, and some tips and tricks and how to figure out the code of horse blanketing. And in the United States, they are called a blanket. I've heard them called rugs. I don't know what part of the world that is. But yeah, we call them blankets. Not to be confused with saddle pads or saddle blankets. Those are a little different. But let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next video.